There we go. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the show. My name is Derek Mackey. I am the president of Cool Waters Productions. We are a management company out in Hollywood, California, and we represent a lot of actors for appearances at conventions. And that is partly how we came in to this little event today that we are doing with you all in conjunction with Capital Sci-Fi Con and the Children's Hospice across Scotland. They came to us asking if we would participate in the charity event. And after doing some research and finding the amazing work that this group does, we jumped in head first and said, yes, let's do this. So we are very welcome, very proud today to be part of your group and to have InHouse-CON, which is a virtual convention, be part of your world out there in Scotland. So thank you so much for having us. And I hope that we can raise a lot of funds for the charity. So as I said, the charity is called Children's Hospice Across Scotland, and it is Scotland's only hospice service for children with terminal illness. And the people over there do some amazing, amazing work. If you guys want to learn more about the organization and donate outside of today's event, you can visit www.chas.org.uk. We'll mention that website again a few times. This charity is amazing. They're part of the Capital Sci-Fi Con, which is an annual event whose sole purpose is to raise money for the Children's Hospice. And over the last 5 years, this is an amazing, staggering figure, the charity has been able to raise over 312,000 pounds, pounds for the charity, which is just absolutely unbelievable. And I tip my hat to the organizers as well as the volunteers at the charity. And I hope that they will continue their amazing, great work. So thank you for joining us today. A little bit of housekeeping before we bring on our guests. I just want to let those of you know, if you're not familiar with Zoom, Zoom likes to edit it on its own while we're going live for the panel. So this is what I recommend. If you're watching from a tablet or a laptop or a desktop computer, I suggest going into the upper right-hand side of your screen and choosing gallery view under the view icon. There's a view icon in the upper right corner. The gallery view will allow you to watch all of the panelists and myself, your humble host, as we discuss questions today and take questions from the audience. If you do not choose gallery view, Zoom will actually edit on the fly for you, which basically means it will decide who you get to see. And in the general world, the way that Zoom is set up is that it focuses on who is speaking and what sounds are being made. But what we have found using Zoom is that over time, sometimes if someone inadvertently makes a sound or laughs or maybe has a burp under their breath, Zoom will actually click over to them because it was a sound that it wasn't used to. And all of a sudden you'll be watching somebody mussing around while the other person is talking. So it can make for fun viewing. Doesn't matter to us how you view it, but if you want a better viewing experience, that's what I would suggest. I also want to point out today that all of our panelists are going to be focusing primarily on the camera. So as you will see, there is a chat room area on Zoom. Our panelists don't go into the chat room area. That's more for the fans to talk amongst themselves. If you would like to actually interact with myself or the guests, this is what we're going to ask you to do. At the bottom of your screen, I believe it is to the right-hand side, there is an area that says Q&A. Q&A. That is the area where all viewers are allowed to send in their questions, and those questions will be read aloud by me on air, and they will be answered live by our guests. So if you would like to submit a question, please do. I've got some pre-written questions to get the ball rolling once our guests are all introduced, but obviously I don't want this to be about me. These are my clients. I know them very well, and I'm here to share their experiences with you. So I encourage you to please make sure that you ask your questions, okay? And the only thing we ask is that you don't do any questions relating to sex, religion, or politics. Those are the only three out-of-bound areas. Other than that, you can ask away, and if the guests don't want to answer a certain question, they simply won't. So let's have some fun. And we're going to bring on our first guest. Let me just explain the way we do this. We've got little welcome videos for each guest that we have. I'm going to do a screen share from my end, but bear with us if we have a little technical glitch. You may still see me or hear someone that you shouldn't. Just bear with us. We're trying to make this as smooth as possible. But we're going to bring on our first guest here. So let me do a screen share and let me start our first video. And we'll start with this one. Okay. So here we go. So let me stop it. This is the excitement of going live, guys. Okay, you can choose the wrong video. So now we're going to try that one more time. Let's try that again. That's it. That's what we call in America a blooper. All right, let's see if this is the right one. Here we go.
Well, there's something you don't see every day.
Tried to think of the most harmless thing. Something I loved from my childhood. Something that could never, ever possibly destroy us. Mr. Stay Puft.
Ray has gone bye-bye, Egon. What have you got left?
Sorry, Venkman. I'm terrified beyond the capacity for rational thought.
Nobody steps on a church in my town! Funny us going out like this, killed by a 100-foot marshmallow man.
I have a radical idea. The door swings both ways. We could reverse the particle flow through the gate.
How?
Something.
Cross the streets.
Excuse me.
We're going to try that again because it didn't work. Okay, I think, are we there? So guys, sorry about that. As we were running my tech guru in the background, Emma, she just told me that you couldn't see the video. So we're gonna start it again. Sorry about that. Bear with us. And we're gonna do that one more time. So what I need to do is bring up that video here. And we're gonna try that one more time from the beginning. Here we go, bear with me. Hopefully it'll work this time, guys. Okay, enjoy. Here we go.
Well, there's something you don't see every day.
Tried to think of the most harmless thing. Something I loved from my childhood. Something that could never, ever possibly destroy us. Mr. Stay Puft.
Ray has gone bye-bye, Egon. What have you got left?
Sorry, Venkman. I'm terrified beyond the capacity for rational thought.
Nobody steps on a church in my town! Funny us going out like this, killed by a 100-foot marshmallow man.
I have a radical idea. The door swings both ways. We could reverse the particle flow through the gate.
How?
We'll cross the streams.
Excuse me.
Oh, there we go. There we go. All right. I was told that time that it worked. I'm so glad. Thank you, everybody, for your patience. Please, let's welcome our first guest, Mr. Billy Bryan. Hello, Billy. Give him a second to start his video. Here we go. Hello, sir.
Unmute. There we go. Hi there, everybody.
How are you?
And here I am broadcasting from Big Bear, California. I'm no longer in the.
Awesome. You have a cabin up there in the mountains, Billy?
A friend of mine just bought a house up here, a nice little cabin, and three of us are actually together, two of us vaccinated and one taking the risk. Uh, but he's been by himself up here in his cabin, so I think we're safe. So hey everybody.
Well, hello. Billy, thank you for taking time out of your schedule today on your little trip up to Big Bear to be with us.
Real
And
pleasure.
what I'm going to ask you to do is we're going to hide your video for a moment. We're going to get everybody in the room. So you hang tight and watch the next guest's welcome video, okay?
Okay.
All right, we'll see you shortly. All right, guys, we're going to do another screen share. This time, hopefully, we're going to do it the right way. And we're going to show you the next guest's welcome video. Here we go.
Beckman?
Disgusting blob. I'm gonna have to hold him myself.
Come in, Ray.
Beckman! I saw it!
It's right here, Ray. It's looking at me.
He's an ugly little spud, isn't he?
I think he can hear you, Ray.
Beckman! What happened? Are you okay?
He slimed me.
In reality, the ghost was puppeteer Mark Wilson inside a suit of 1-inch thick foam latex. Wilson's waist and legs, covered in black, would disappear when the film was later combined with location photography.
It's Gozer.
I thought Gozer was a man.
Are you a god?
No.
Then
Wonderful, wonderful. All right, we're back, and I'm so glad to welcome our next guest. Please, let's welcome Mark Brian Wilson to the show. Couple seconds, he'll start his video. There we go.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, Mark. How are you, sir?
Good. Good to see you, Derek.
Good to see you. Thank you for joining our show today.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm here in Hollywood, California, in my studio, so there's plenty of toys out here.
Yes, I see you have a plethora of trinkets and archival things behind you. That's amazing.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun collecting. I collect a collection of collectibles, so I have at least 5 or 6 different things that I collect, from Disney to 20,000 Leagues to puppets. So.
Wow. Well, maybe we will chat a little bit about that later in the show. For now, I'm going to ask you to sit back and watch the other guests get welcomed into the show, and we'll be right back with you.
All right.
All right. See you soon. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to do our next screen share. I think we've got it down now, and we'll watch our next guest's welcome video. Here we go. Maybe. Is that the right one?
Oh my God, the Scoleri brothers!
Scoleri brothers! Friends of yours?
I tried them for murder! Gave them the chair! Why don't you just tell them you don't believe in ghosts?
Ghostbusters, that's who you call
Here's something off the request line from Liberty Island. We gotta squeeze some New Year's juice from you, Big Apple. You know your love keeps on lifting me higher, higher, higher. I said your love keeps on lifting me higher, higher.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome our next guest, Mr. Jim Phi. Jim, welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's good to
Hello.
be here.
Where are you calling in from today?
I am calling in from Tucson, Arizona, my new adopted home. And by the way, I'm also wearing today, I am wearing Arizona Ghostbusters stuff. This is the shirt. There's the hat.
Very cool.
There's the wrist thing from Arizona Ghostbusters. I want to give a quick shout out to all my friends in Scotland. I have something to share with you real quick. It's my Wallace crest. Some of you know that my middle name is Wallace, and I was going by the name Jim Wallace. That's what my name is in the credits. So yes, I'm really related to the guy who was played by Mel Gibson in the movie. So
Wow.
Hi, Scotland.
That is awesome. I didn't even know that. I love it. What a nice treat for all the fans watching today in Scotland, Jim. Thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Very cool. Well, thank you for taking time out of your schedule. So I'm going to ask that you sit tight. We've got one more guest to bring on, and you watch their welcome video with everyone else. So we'll see you in a few seconds. All right, guys, we've got one more guest to bring on, and we're going to share that video next. And then we will have all of our guests on together. And here we go.
After months of pre-production, the mechanical jaw of the Slimer is placed into foam head and painted a perfect Slimer green. The mini ghoul body is molded to fit the teenage actress who will play the Slimer, and the completed head is attached. Now the facial movements are controlled by off-screen technicians, and the actress controls the body. Everyone is choreographed by the director's instructions.
That'd be a rough Slimer. Get it out of your system. Okay. Work it out. Do a proud Mary B. Great.
You ready?
We're rolling.
The most crucial element, the slime, is applied and reapplied as this beastie gets a facial and makeup lesson from the special technicians from the Slime Lab. Lots of time and effort is spent just getting the gunk right.
Oh, you love it. Terrific. Unbelievable. Pull the arms away, far away from the body, one at a time. Ah, oh, yeah. Now the other one.
Your country thanks you. Well, that thing's having the time of its life.
Excellent. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome our last and final guest, Ms. Robin Shelby. Robin, welcome to the show. In a moment. There she is. Hello, Robin.
How are you?
Wonderful. Thank you so much for joining us today. Where are you calling in from, Robin?
I am in Hollywood, California.
All right, so we've got a few Hollywood peeps and Arizona peeps, and everyone else is out in Scotland. So we are all over the globe today, which is fantastic. I love it. Well, Robin, thank you for joining us. I am now going to invite back all of our ghosts to be with you and I and get the show started with some questions. So my tech guru, Emma, is going to bring back all of our guests. Here we go. There's Jim, Mark, and Lee is there. There he is. All right. Hello to the ghosts of Ghostbusters. Welcome officially to the show, everybody.
So good to see all of you.
So we've got ghosts represented from all incarnations of the films. We've got the first two original Ghostbusters plus the what has become known as the Ladies Ghostbusters. And so Robin, you had a little gig in that as Lady Slimer, which was great. And so this is really cool that we've got representation from all of the incarnations, which is really cool. And that the tie-in for today's show is ghosts. All of you guys have played ghosts in these series. So I think that's going to be my first question of the day is, do you all believe in ghosts? Robin, why don't you start us off since you had to wait so long to be on screen?
I absolutely believe in ghosts. Growing up, I was born in a house where somebody had passed away in the attic, and my mother had gone up there and she couldn't light a match in the middle of the attic where this person had passed away. And she frequently saw this person in the mirror when at night, but she never was afraid. It wasn't like a ghost that was there to do any harm. So she wasn't really afraid of it. But I absolutely believe in spirits that are still here and haven't moved on. Absolutely.
Interesting. All right, Mark, how about you?
Yeah, I believe that they're the spirit world or the ghost world. Often in my studio or my home, I will be thinking about somebody and you'll hear a creak here or something, is it the house settling or is it one of my friends? But often I say hi, to my mentors who have passed over the decades, to Frank Paris and Doug Seymour, who were my puppet mentors and taught me a lot about marionettes and puppet building. So it's nice to remember them. And I've been told that by once again bringing up their names in remembrance, that it keeps them around even that much longer. So always looking forward to seeing my friends again.
It's a little touch of Dia de Muertos, which is a Mexican tradition for Halloween. Instead of worrying about and crying over that the dead have passed, they remember them, and and that's how you keep them alive for generations to come. So absolutely, I agree with you there. Yeah. Billy, how about you? Got any ghosts and goblins in your closet?
Well, the last time we had one of these, I told the story. I didn't believe in ghosts. And then I was walking down the street one day and I felt a tap on my shoulder. And I looked and there was no one there. And I believed in ghosts until I looked the other way and there was my friend who had just reached around my shoulder and tapped me on the shoulder.
All right. So you are still
so for a moment.
Very good. Jim, how about you, sir?
Well, I think last time I said that I didn't believe in ghosts either, but I think I might be coming around. The only paranormal experience, if that's what you could call it, that I've ever had was in a house that I lived in when I was probably about 12 years old in Kansas. It was a big old, farmhouse. And it had the kind of window shades that you pull down, the paper that were rolled up and you pull them down. And we had them all pulled down one night watching TV, and all of a sudden, and all at the same time, they all went up like that. And that was, maybe due to some ghosts in the house. In terms of just ghosts in general, I kind of feel like I've lived in a lot of different houses because I was brought up in the military. So we moved every couple of years. And I always kind of feel like every time I went to a new house, I could feel the spirits, whether they're still alive or not, of the people that lived there before me. And so, yeah, from that angle, I'd say, yeah, I definitely do believe in ghosts.
All right. Well, I see, normally the next question that I would ask a guest is the type of research that you do for your roles. But since only half of you believe in ghosts and the other half doesn't, and even if you do or don't believe, it's kind of hard to do research on something that you actually can't interview or study very well. So I think I'll tweak the question a little bit to be just a general, how did you get involved in the Ghostbusters franchise? And I'd like to start with the veterans first, the ones that started off in the first one. So that would be Billy and Mark. Who would like to go first on that?
Start with Mark.
Yes, sir.
Start
Mark.
with Billy. Start with Billy. Oh no, that's right. I got hired for Ghostbusters by being a puppet builder. I had met Steve Johnson, who was part of Rick Baker's crew. So if you know Rick Baker from American Werewolf in London or Star Wars, he had a crew, and all these guys were trained by Rick. And then Steve decided to go out and be on his own. I had met him, I think, a couple of months previously to go out and help him do a little freebie on a still shoot. We went up to Griffith Park, up to the old zoo, which has now been all remanicured and is really beautiful. But that back then it was all craggy. So I met Steve Johnson and gave him some advice on a mold that he was working on. He said, "Oh, that's nice." You didn't think anything more about it. A couple of months later, I get a call on the phone, and Steve asked me to bring my portfolio in and come show him and Stuart Ziff what I could do as far as a builder. So I showed them my portfolio. They said, "Okay, we'll let you know soon. And actually, we're thinking of having you build the Marshmallow Man because we see you've done some foam construction." So I thought, "Oh, great. That's a neat character. There's pictures on the wall." And I went about thinking, okay, now how am I going to do this? It's going to be a suit you get to wear, and how exciting. Then I think when I finally started, I found out that somebody named Billy Bryan was going to do the Marshmallow Man because he had a portfolio filled end to end with sheet foam construction, which is exactly what this needed. I think I had done one suit. So they said, "Okay, you're going to do," and they didn't know what I was going to do when I started. So I started on the Librarian, moved to the Terror Dogs, back to Slimer. I ended up building a lot on those three characters, but it was basically because I was a really good builder. And I had also done some performing on camera too. So they liked the idea that not only could I build the stuff, but I knew about being inside of costumes.
Very good. Billy, so please elaborate on the,
So,
there you go.
So now I think you understand why I wanted Mark to start, because otherwise the story would have flowed backwards. But I'm going to go a little farther into the past to where in 1983, we were building still suits for Dune. And they were foam fabricated. And one of the people that we hired to help build these foam fabricated suits was Linda Frobos, who is mostly she's a clay sculptor, but in this instance, she was out of work and we needed somebody who was good with her hands. And so she came in, she helped us organize and made it wonderful. And then when the job was over, actually during the job, one of the other workers had shown Linda a picture of me as Puck in Midsummer Night's Dream. So she knew that I was a performer. Now we go to we had shipped the still suits, and she had gone on to start working on Ghostbusters. When they asked her if she knew of anyone who could build and portray the character, she suggested me. She called me. I was still over at Don Post Studios where we had made the still suits. She called Don to get my number, and Don just handed me the phone. And basically, I thought she was asking how I would suggest that they build the Marshmallow Man. So I started describing the method I would have gone about, and she stopped me and said, "Could you just come in?" And so I showed up, and I talked to Steve Johnson and Randy Cook, who did the Terror Dog sculpture and stop motion animating, and Stuart Ziff, and I showed them a few pictures, and they said, "Stick around." So that's how it worked.
There you go. Well, see, I love these stories because it gives you such a different look from the acting side, which is what a lot of people, they have these auditions on tape that you see, and the magic that you all bring to the screen is such a different art, and to hear, your backgrounds are great. So let's move on to Ghostbusters 2. Robin and Jim, how did you get? I'm actually going to add a part to your question, though. So obviously, we want to know how you got your part, but also, did you know what it is that you were auditioning for? Like it was the second of this franchise, and had you seen Ghostbusters 1? So, ladies first, Robin.
I had worked on a film a year earlier called Willow at ILM. I was a troll that got eaten off a bridge and torn in two. I have a very weird resume, as you guys all know. But a year later, they had written Slimer in, they wrote Slimer out, and they had already cast somebody else as Slimer. And he went on to a different project when he was written out. And so they needed to fill the slot. So they called me, my agent called me, didn't know what it was for, said, can you go up to ILM and there's an interview. And I met with Tim Lawrence and went through a few scenarios, auditioned. And later that night, I got a phone call telling me what it was and that I was going to start work very soon because they had no time to put it together. So had I not worked on Willow, I probably wouldn't be here today talking to you about this wonderful franchise. So I'm very fortunate, very lucky.
Wonderful. And had you seen the first one? And then once you found out what you were going to be part of, what was that feeling?
I saw the first one in high school. I was a huge fan. And of course, you could have blown me over with a feather when I found out what it was actually for, because I of course I was a huge fan, and then I was kind of intimidated when I found out because it was big shoes to fill, and it was a lot to live up to, and I wanted to do a good job, and I wanted the fans to be happy. So I had to go to work not even thinking about all that pressure. I just needed to have fun and listen to what they needed me to do. But yes, long story short, I was a huge fan of Ghostbusters and was immensely excited that I was part of Ghostbusters 2.
Bravo. Well, we're glad you're part of it. Jim, how about you, sir?
Well, yes, I had seen the first Ghostbusters and adored it. I loved it. I don't know how many, I will go and see a movie 20 times if I like it. And I think I got probably close to 20 times. I had no idea they were making a sequel of it. I had no experience in suit work at all when I got a call from my agent. I was working actually right down the street from ILM at a little business called Phoenix Leasing. That was my day job. But I was trying to make it as an actor at that time. And so I had an agent who sent me on auditions for print work and commercials mostly. I also did theater, but I had not done any of this kind of work before. But I got the call from my agent, and what she told me was, you need to go to this audition, and you need to go dressed for movement, and you need to go and walk like a statue. And that was all I was given. So I went to the audition and I met with Tim Lawrence and Ned Gorman, and they were great. And they, I did a little kind of stiff movement across the room for them. And that was that for that day. The next day there was a callback. And I think there were probably about a half a dozen, maybe 10 people at the callback, all for this walking statue thing. We didn't really know what the statue was. We certainly didn't know it was for Ghostbusters 2. The first day it was just, I had my arms at my side, but the second day they said, this time we want you to do it. And we want you to put your arm up like this. We want you to put your hand out like this and walk like a statue. So we could guess which statue it was, but we still didn't know Ghostbusters. They dismissed everybody else in the room except for me and another young woman. And they told us right then and there that we had the part, that I was, kind of be the principal statue, and she was going to be a backup in case they needed to shoot, two statue scenes at the same time. But they didn't want to tell us what it was for. As a matter of fact, at first they said, no, we can't tell you. And I kind of had a rule that if I was going to accept a job, I needed to know what it was ahead of time. So they looked at each other and they said, okay, we'll tell you, but you have to promise not to tell anyone. And then they said Ghostbusters. And after that, when they picked me up off the floor, I was so thrilled, and I ran right home to my parents and told them.
Well,
You mean NDAs don't work?
What's that?
NDAs don't work?
They didn't at that time. I didn't sign. Well, I don't know. I can't remember. Maybe I did sign one of those, but not that day.
Yeah, right.
yeah, that's because you actually kept your mouth shut, but someone on another project didn't. So NDAs kind of became a thing after that.
Right, right.
Yeah.
We're glad you got the role, Jim, and thank you
Me
for being
too.
here and discussing it all. So, all of you actually have brought up this amazing artist's name, Tim Lawrence, who was a client of mine and, of course, dear friends of all of yours. And, of course, we all, Sarah's our group, know that he's no longer with us. So why don't we do this in honor of him? Why don't we share a little fun story about our friend Tim? And it doesn't have to be Ghostbusters related, but why don't we just give him some accolades? Who would like to go first with that?
Hey, I'll go.
Okay.
When I first met Tim, it was at Sid and Marty Croft Company, and he had come by to show off some of his talents, his foam fabrication, texturing, and that sort of thing. And I had been away for a day or two, and so when I came back, I was told, this new guy is here. I think you're going to get along with him really well. And when I first met him, I believe he said something like, "But I don't like spam." And from there on, we were pals.
Okay, very good. Who's next? Mark, you wanna go?
Excuse me. Yeah, I met Tim probably in 1982. He had just come out from Florida out to LA, and a friend of mine did something where he says, "Hey, you've got to meet this guy. You're cut from the same cloth." Knowing that both Tim and I built and performed inside of suits and had built stuff all throughout high school and college, trying to get into the film industry. So we went to a little diner in North Hollywood, which is not there anymore, called Basil's, which was just a long counter. And we ended up having breakfast and hitting it off. And I think it was the following year, I ended up working on Thriller with Tim, where he was the Tor Johnson zombie in Thriller. And then I was also a zombie walking around in the background. So we got to work on that together. If you watch the behind the scenes, you'll see Tim and I helping Rick Baker with the life cast of Michael Jackson. So we've actually had a great time, and always fun. So I, of course, kept in touch with Tim throughout the years. He even brought me in on Ghostbusters 2 for a week to try to build the same character that Jim ended up playing as a suit character. We tried to build it as a puppet. So I got to do just a week building a prototype of what the puppet would look like for a Scoleri brother. A great guy. We really miss him a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. Robin, how about you?
Tim and I became very close working on the set. We became very good friends. He was like a protector on the set. He watched over me like a hawk. He's the most insanely creative person I think I've ever met in my life. I have nothing but amazing memories of him. He was like my main person that I dealt with on the set, and I was the luckiest woman to be able to have somebody so kind and friendly and talented, and he helped me out to no end on the set.
Very good. And Jim, your final thoughts on our friend.
I have a show and tell.
Oh, please, show and tell.
I love it.
Oh, what's that?
It's a book. It's written by Richard Stern, who was a young actor in this production of Hamlet that starred Richard Burton and John Gielgud. Actually, John Gielgud was the director, and the book is called John Gielgud Directs Richard Burton in Hamlet. You can't see the John Gielgud part too well. And this actor was allowed to record the rehearsals of this play. And the recordings are the basis of the book, which is a really interesting book. So what does this have to do with Tim Lawrence? Tim gave me this book. Now, like everybody else said, Tim was a great pal of mine on the set. He was my boss too. And I never felt like I've ever had a boss who looked out for me as much as Tim did. He was always looking out for me. I started out, I got hired as the Statue of Liberty. The other things came along, the Ghost Jogger and Tony Scolari came along mostly because of Tim. If I kind of went to Tim when I heard that these things hadn't been cast yet. And I kind of said, have you cast that? Is there a chance I could play that? And, he said, well, we'll see. But with costume and makeup tests, they eventually got to me, and that was all Tim's doing. I'm really sure. As a Scolari brother, I felt like he was my brother. I mean, we never shot a scene together. We shot our scenes separately, but he was always on set. He was always coaching me, telling me what to do, and he really felt like a brother. Now, the funny thing about Tim is that after the movie was over with, after we finished shooting the movie, I didn't see him again for years and years. I didn't even know where he was until I think the Facebook era. I started Facebook in about 2010, and he was on Facebook then, and we connected that way. Shortly after that, he got fed up with Facebook and left. He eventually came back. And so, we sort of communicated that way, but I didn't see him again until the Fan Fest a couple of years ago. That was the first time I'd seen him since the movie went off, since the movie was shot. And so, but the Robin, wasn't it true? We met for breakfast in the hotel before we went to the Fan Fest, and it was just like no time had passed at all. We were just best friends.
That's the way it is with people that are so amazing and friends. That happens. You just get together after years, and it just doesn't matter. You catch up like that.
It was just wonderful to see him, and he had a real reverence for Shakespeare. And we talked about this back in the Ghostbusters days as well. I was in a play called The Dresser, which was about a production of King Lear. And I really wanted Tim to see it. He was too busy to do any of that, but at that time. But we talked about Shakespeare, and his favorite play was Hamlet. He loved Hamlet. And I suspect that he would have been a really great Polonius in Hamlet. And here's another tie-in to Ghostbusters that I hadn't thought about until just a few days ago, is that there's a ghost in Hamlet. There's a big ghost in Hamlet. It's Hamlet's father. And who knows, maybe he was thinking that we should play together in a production of Hamlet where he plays Polonius and I play the ghost.
I would have paid good money to see that. I would pay good money to see that.
So he actually sent this book to me after the Fan Fest, and he signed it. He put a little Post-it in it. He didn't put his name in there, but that's from Tim, and that's the kind of brother he was to me. He still, after all those years and not seeing him all that time, he thought of me and sent this book to me.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing all of your stories. And Jim, thank you for that. That's just wonderful. Thank you. So I've got one more question before we jump into fan questions. And also I'm going to remind all the fans, in case anyone joined us a little bit late, excuse me, if you would like to ask questions, we're getting to that time. Go to the Q&A room on the bottom right of your screen. There's a little button that says Q&A. Click on the Q&A, type in your question. I will read the questions aloud on air, and the guests will answer it live on air for you. Again, refrain from sex, politics, and religion. Everything else is open. And if the guests don't want to answer something, we encourage them to answer only what they're comfortable with. So while we have everybody with their thinking caps on to get those last questions in, I'm going to ask you guys one more question from my pre-list. And I'm debating which one I want to ask. Okay, I'll go with this one. What was on Ghostbusters? Because I mean, so many people are fans of other things that all of you have done, but obviously today is a Ghostbusters theme. So could you share with us your most difficult part of filming one of your roles in the movies? Whether it was a makeup thing, a technical thing, whatever, something that was difficult to bring your character to life. Who would like to start that off?
I'll start.
Okay, Robin, you go.
There's a scene where Slimer is eating a sub sandwich, and obviously Tim was there. We all talk about Tim, and I was eating. It took a long time. And normally every hour they would say, let's kind of take the head off. Let's give her a break. Let her have some water. And we were running behind, and I chose not to take that break. I'm like, let's just finish. We can do it. So I powered through, and at one point, Tim was like, "So Robin, are you ready to go again? How are you doing?" And there was no response. I was like, I was ready to just kind of pass out. And then all I heard is, "Get her out." So that's probably the most difficult day, but I blame it on me. I had a bunch of family looking out for me on that set. It definitely, I was being protected, but at that point I wasn't protecting myself. I said, let's just keep going. And that was probably my most difficult moment on the set. And luckily I was fine, but I was close to just kind of losing it in there, but that's it.
Perfect. All right, Robin, let's go down the line now. Mark, you're next.
Yeah, I guess the most difficult day was shooting the scene with Slimer. And I guess you can see this a little bit. Slimer was shot with the character costume on my body, but then when he was composited in the film, they made him look a little smaller. So that bottle of champagne that I'm holding is actually what's called a Magnum. And that's a bottle of champagne that's probably about 20 inches tall, solid glass, because it's champagne, you don't want it to explode. And it had liquid in it, champagne. Now I said, hey, I've got to hold that up. Let's get rid of the champagne because I'm going to be doing this for, a couple of days. And they said, well, we can't empty the bottle because they want to drink the champagne in the front office after we're done shooting. So I had to shoot with an entire full bottle of champagne. I don't know how much it weighed, but it got heavier and heavier as the days went by.
Oh man.
That's great. Billy, how about you?
I didn't get any champagne. I'm kind of pissed.
It was good.
Now, the effort I put into Ghostbusters, most of it was on the fabrication side. I had to walk and I had to step onto a church. I had to lean back and look up, but mostly it was, it was pretty low key action. And then fortunately, then Tony Cesar came on, put on his Nomex suit, dipped it in his gel, then put it on, and then put on the Stay Puft suit and got lit on fire. So, difficulties.
Hard.
The worst difficulties were that, I sweat a lot. So in a hot suit made of insulation material, foam, that the air starts to get a bit rank. There's at least one picture that you can find online of somebody going like this into the camera as they've taken off the head. So it wasn't only me that it was affected. Now, some of the easy stuff, because I was in the suit for hours and hours, I would have it halfway down, and while they were lighting, they would just needed the white for the bounce. And so I would have books in there. I'd stand there and read, and then when it was time, I'd put it inside the suit. They'd zip me up and put the head on, and off we go. Yeah, so rigors for me.
Jam, how about you, sir?
Well, I have to say the most difficult day of shooting was any day I was in the Statue of Liberty suit. Billy, kind of the same thing. I was completely encased in foam, and couldn't really hear very well, couldn't really see very well, had to keep the arms straight, as straight as I could. And I guess maybe the most difficult one was, most of the time I was just in front of a blue screen, but there was one scene where Liberty is walking down Fifth Avenue and there were some buildings on the side that they built. And I kept running into the buildings. I couldn't see. So I had people like, down by my feet, kind of guiding me which way to go. And I think Tim was banging on a garbage can lid so that, you know, we could get how I was supposed to be moving, and, you know, I could generally hear what direction I was supposed to be going in. Those were probably the most difficult days of shooting. The actual most difficult day working on Ghostbusters 2 was my very first day when they were doing all of the molds to make the live casting. And Robin, I did pass out on that day. So
did
more to that
you?
story. I don't think I should
Oh my
tell.
goodness. Wow.
That's
I survived. They didn't fire me.
Wow.
I would hope not. I think you could have used it against them for a raise. Wow. Well, we're glad that you're okay and that you made it through, and
Oh, it was my own fault. Yeah.
all of your hard works and efforts have contributed to this amazing pieces of art. So it's great. It's great. So guys, let's jump into some fan questions, shall we? And these are going to be in no particular order. I'm just trying to pick ones that are interesting or that haven't been answered already. So the first one we will take from, let's go with this one. Stuart Wilson asks, have any of you been involved in a new film at all right now? What's your next project coming up, guys? Who wants to go first? I know it's always, I'll just pick. We're going to go with Billy first.
I've just been working on The Mandalorian.
Ooh,
but I can't tell you what I was making. And I've been working on the new Jackass movie, but I can't tell you what I'll be doing.
All right, so we'll just have to watch.
Wait, The Masked Singer. If you see any episodes of The Masked Singer with the snail and the Yeti, those are the newest ones that I've worked on. So keep an eye out for those on The Masked Singer, Fox.
Awesome. Okay, very good, very good. Thank you. Mark, how about you, sir?
Yeah, I worked last year on a feature film called Marcel the Shell with Tennis Shoes. And that was a series of shorts that were done on YouTube, but they decided to go ahead and fund it and create a full-length feature. I worked with the Kyoto brothers to go on set, and we did a bunch of little tricks so that Marcel the Shell could be moving things along on set, and they would add it later on in stop motion. But we puppeteered cherry tomatoes and some fake worms, and I mean, anyway, you didn't get it from me.
Very, very quiet. Robin, what is your next gig?
I worked not too long ago on a short called Big Tony's Ballet, where I played a very drunk woman at a bar, and that was typecasting. No, I'm joking. I mean, it was so much fun. It was so much fun. I looked ridiculous, but it was like the most fun day of shooting ever. We're still working on our different episodes of Two Cops in a Car. We've done some quarantine editions of Two Cops in a Car, so you can check that out. It's just silly fun. And I just had an audition recently for a national commercial that you'd recognize, but I really can't talk about it. So who knows? Maybe that might come through. You never know. So I'm still out there. I'm still auditioning and working, and exactly. Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. Wonderful. Jim, how about you, sir?
Nothing coming up. The last movie I did was a couple of years ago, actually 3 years ago now, just before I left the San Francisco Bay Area. I was in a little indie film, so cute and fun to be in it, called Go to Hell and Turn Left was the name of the movie. I don't know whether you'll ever find it or not. I have a small role in that where I play the butler. That was the last time I was in a movie. Right now, I'm not doing very much. There isn't a whole lot in Tucson to do, and that's okay. I'm retired, so that's fine. I'm working on a book, and I am singing with a men's chorus, and that's kind of what I'm doing now.
Okay, great. Yeah, and your book, Jim, are you allowed to say? I know I've helped you a little bit with it.
Well, it's based on my experiences with a certain movie about ghosts. And I'm virtually done with it. That's what I've been doing during the pandemic. I finished the book. I started it about 10 years ago, picked it up, when I had nothing to do this past year, didn't really like it. So I did a little reworking on it. I like it much better now. It's virtually done. I just have to do a little editing and find somebody to publish it. So.
Very good. Well, good luck with that. Good luck with all your future projects, guys. That's great. Our next question is from Chris Cashel. And Chris says, hello to all in the panel. Were you aware of any scenes that were shot that didn't make it into either of the Ghostbusters films? And if so, could you discuss them a little bit? So missing scenes, what do you got, guys?
Another more show and tell. This I showed last time, this too. This is a scene that changed concepts, actually. If you remember in Ghostbusters 2, there was the Titanic scene. The Titanic comes back and there's people who ghosts that get off the boat. Before they put people into period costumes and shot that scene, they thought that they might do it with ghostly figures from everybody who worked at ILM who'd ever done, a face cast before. So they made a lot of my face that looked like this. I got this one from Tim on my last day. It didn't make it into the film.
That's cool. Great. All right, guys, top that. That's cool. Billy, you go.
Let's see. I'm trying to think of, I don't know of any scenes that weren't included. The one that kind of showed up that I kind of enjoy is the first time we see Stay Puft's head bobbing behind the buildings and the surprise that you could actually see my t-shirt for a moment. And so suddenly I have, a unique Easter egg t-shirt with the Michelin Man on it. That's cool. About it.
Pay attention. That's cool. Mark, how about you, sir?
Everything that I shot, I think they used. We were so crunched for time that
exactly
everything was very storyboarded out. So they shot it, they picked the take, it was approved, it was cut into the film. So as far as I know, nothing that I shot is on the cutting room floor. And that's only because there was no time.
Yep.
Or maybe it's just because you were that good, Mark. That's
well,
why.
that is true. Yeah, that's in the 5-hour-long edition of the movie. You'll have to see. It's all about me.
Oh, remember the shot that had walking on the model with the fire hydrant under my foot? There was one version without the fire hydrant. Because we went back and shot it when they added the fire hydrant.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Robin, how about you?
Everybody knows the scene where Slimer picks up Lewis on the bus and he takes him away. There's a scene where he drops him off that was cut, and that was probably the whole crew. Everybody did such a great job putting that together, and we were so proud of it. It was basically he gets off the bus with Lewis, wants to go with him, and then Lewis turns to him and says, "No, you can't go. But hey, with arms like that, you'd be a great bowling partner. Let's go bowling sometime." And he licks Lewis and flies off. And that, I would love to see that put together and cut together. But it went that whole day. Like I remember the whole crew just applauding everybody else that day. It just went so well. I think we all were kind of most bummed. I know I talked to Tim about that. We're all kind of most bummed about that being cut, because it kind of explained what was going on with Slimer picking him up, and it just was an amazing piece of work from everyone involved that day.
That's a shame, because that does sound very interesting. Sometimes you look at deleted scenes on the DVDs and Blu-rays, and you wonder, why did that get cut? Some stuff that gets cut from films, you understand it. It's either not good for the story or whatever. But that just sounds like it. I mean, it couldn't have added lengthwise to the film enough for the studio to complain. It's kind of fascinating why that didn't make it in, but who knows? Maybe the super duper deluxe blow all you can out the DVD edition will come in next year and it'll be in there. So, all right, our next question will be from Alexandra Hill. When you started your career, and then with Ghostbusters, did you ever think it would be so iconic? Billy, I love that you reacted to that question. So you answer first on that.
Well, I mean, consider the moment. Mom, I got a part in a movie. Really, honey? What are you playing? Well, it's a sort of a giant marshmallow man. Oh, that's nice, dear. Okay.
Not something to write home about.
Well, I called home, but but yeah, no, there was no way of knowing. Except that when I read the script, I laughed all the way through. And so yes, of course I knew. So two sides of the same coin.
Right. Mark, how about you, sir?
I think when I realized that we were working on something super special is one time we'd been working on building for about a month. The studio sent over a VHS tape of the performance of the tarot card reading with the boy and girl and Bill Murray to give us a taste of what they could show us that was already shot and cut together. And so that day at Boss, they called us into an office. They put the tape in, turned the TV on, and there was about 20 or 30 of us in a small office. And the applause and the laughter at the end of that just was so iconic. We just felt, oh, this is going to be so fun. And we were all jazzed and we went back to work. The script was great. We thought Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, well, this could really be something really cool. But when you actually saw that scene, to me, that was all right, this is something really great. I'm really excited. As iconic as it is, no idea, it just has blossomed and continues to grow. So really excited and proud to be part of the franchise. That's for sure.
Sure, absolutely. Robin, how about you?
Well, for Jim and I think I speak for him. We kind of went, it's a different story because we were already stepping into an iconic franchise. It's like, it was already blown up and huge. So that was something I think I mentioned before. I couldn't think about that when I was beginning my work. If I kept my mind on how big it was much bigger than all of us. I would have stressed myself out. So I just tried to focus on the job at hand. But I already knew it was huge. And very honored to be part of it.
Jim, final statements on that?
Yeah, well, exactly, Robin. And I'm not even sure when I auditioned, I knew I was going to ILM, but Industrial Light and Magic was huge, and they did, and still are. And the movies that they were making were like all big budget, top grossing movies. I mean, just think of all the franchises that they've done, Star Wars and Indiana Jones and all of them. And so, when they said Ghostbusters to me, yeah, I started rehearsing my Academy Award speech right then. But the movie came out and it was a modest success, and it kind of went away, and then I just sort of forgot about it. I had no idea that there was any kind of fan base or that it had the popularity that it did until I got on Facebook, and I just happened to post a couple pictures one day saying, back in the 80s I was in this movie, and then all of a sudden it all blew up again. So it's kind of been an amazing journey from, oh my God, this is the biggest thing that's happened to me, to like, okay, let's go on with our life for the next 20-25 years, to then all of a sudden it's the biggest thing in my life again.
Again, I say it all the time, but I am glad that all of you were involved, and I applaud you for your artistic contributions to the franchise. So our next two questions I'm going to combine them. These are from Barry Gartland. And Barry asked two questions. Where is the Stay Puft costume now? Does it still exist somewhere? And who of you own their own proton packs? So Billy, you start us off.
Okay, I don't know where the suit is, but I do know that in 1987, I think it was, or maybe it was 88, that there was a tour, I think it went to Japan. And my suspicion is that hopefully it's in some rich Japanese CEO's, perfect humidifier, or whatever, what do you call it, hermetically sealed room. but I haven't heard of it since then. I have a piece. I have one hand that's in 5 little baggies because it fell apart so thoroughly.
Oh, all right. And what about, do you own a proton pack, Billy?
I do not.
No. Okay.
No, no, I'm afraid of them.
Oh. Does anyone have a proton pack of their own? Maybe doing some ghost busting on the side? No, no, no. Okay, good, good. We can't. I was going to make a joke and it's gone out of my head, so skip it. All right. Our next question comes from Niall Chambers, and I'm sorry if I pronounced your name wrong. Niall says, "Do you think that puppetry and CGI will always work hand in hand?" And Niall also makes a comment that, "Wow, loving this." So I'm glad. Thank you that you're loving this. So CGI and puppetry, guys.
It makes a lot of sense. It makes the job a lot easier. If you can hide the puppeteer and just stand right beside it and puppeteer, then you can have a much more direct performance. There are types of puppets, of course. I'm looking at Mark's face, thinking about marionettes, and thinking, well, you do need some string there. Yeah, for years before CGI, the mechanisms were a lot more elaborate. That you had to have the cable go all the way in through like to control a head. You had to have a multi position gimbal mechanism. And now, if you want to, you can stick a rod at the back and rotate it and not worry about it, and just green out the puppeteer.
Mm-hmm.
For instance.
Well, any other conjectures on that? Yes, Mark, please.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great tool to help us. As Billy was saying, as a puppeteer on set, there's just so many times we had to have the umbilical of cables that went off to tin puppeteers that had to be outside of frame. So to be able to just leave them in frame and erase them later on, or to do for a while, as soon as CG was getting really the kind of the mainstream, we did a lot of the puppet hand would come in for the giant creature, and so somebody could actually be held and moved. So for a while we did the things that was interfaced with, but it's still a really viable choice. It depends on what the character is in the film and how you want to shoot it. But I really like puppets and shooting it live, and I've talked to so many people who detest CGI and love puppets, and I have to say, well, but and try to talk from my experience about what it takes to actually shoot a puppeteer on a set, raising sets, cutting holes, waiting for all that stuff to be rigged. If some of that can be trimmed off of the production budget and they can do it quickly, that's great. Now, I would prefer that they use us for at least part of the production, but sometimes they just say, let's just put it all in post. And that's just another choice. It's great what they've done with CGI and all the amazing creatures. I mean, you figure out all the things that we've seen since Jurassic Park came online, and people were amazed that it was a real dinosaur. Well, it's a combination of puppet tricks and CGI. So I hope they continue.
I think certainly I'll just interject my own opinion as a fan who watches, movies. There's something tangible of a miniature or a puppet. Your eye knows the difference. It can see the difference, and it may not understand the difference, but it knows that it's something tangible. So in Star Wars, a spaceship that's a miniature flying across the screen is totally different than a computer-generated spaceship flying across the screen. So there's certainly a value to having puppets and models used, because I think we can have a deeper appreciation for the work that goes into it. And as I said, as a fan, there's just something in your mind you see, and to know that something's real, to me, I don't like it when a studio makes everything CG. Like it just, they tried to do that with the first episodes of Star Wars when they redid them, and everything was CG, and it was very disappointing, because we grew up in a world where things like Star Wars and Superman and Jaws and Ghostbusters were these actual things that existed in 3D, and it gives the actors something to respond to, and it gives our own eyes something to focus on. So I understand CGI is a good tool to help, but I certainly think we need artists such as yourselves to continue working. Jurassic Park is a good point. There was a lot of CG in that, and it was industry changing, hands down. But remember, one of the biggest scenes in that movie that blew everybody away was the T-Rex chasing the Jeep, and Jeff Goldblum reacting. I mean, all of his reactions. That part was real. That part of the T-Rex was real and scary. So, if you really think about it, the actors can respond to something much more believably if it's actually right there in their faces. But anyway, that's just my opinion. I think we need you guys is the point. I don't ever want to see any of you go anywhere. So you've got my $2 for any film you ever make. Our next question is going to be from Gordon McLeod. And Gordon says, during filming, while puppeteering Slimer, how did you find working with all the food, especially the hot dog cart? And I think I'm going to add on to that sentence just to clarify, was a lot of the food real, or were they fake props just with a bunch of slime on them? So let's answer Gordon's question.
Start that off, because both Robin and I dealt with food on set. At the food service cart, throwing all those plates into the mouth with the tongue licking across the face, real food, mashed potatoes, banana peels. They tried to dress it as if it was the stuff that you didn't eat that you pushed out to the hallway, that the custodian crew had to get rid of. The hot dogs were actually custom made. That was foam latex injected into PVC pipe. But, of course, again, it was oversized so that it looked like the right scale for Slimer. I was barely in the costume for that one. My head was down and under, and then the hot dogs went over my back and out when somebody pulled a string to pull all those hot dogs in at 1 second. When I did the food into the mouth, I was actually in there and under it. So half of the food ended up going down the back of my shirt, and I was really glad to finish that take. Because not only was there the usual mashed potatoes, green beans, banana peels, cigarette butts, but there was Jell-O. So I ended up getting sticky, but it was fun. I mean, would I do it again? Absolutely. Just give me the food.
Robin, what about your Slimer? Like the sub you were eating and stuff, were those real, or were they fabricated sandwiches and stuff?
Extremely real, with mayonnaise and onion and tomato, the works. And unlike Mr. Mark Brian Wilson, it went right up against my face. I was in the end of the mouth, so we had to eat it, and I smelled like onions for about 2 weeks, I think. But honestly though, it was so much fun. It was. And going back to the smelly inside of a costume, I used to, after that day, I still had weeks to work. I always said it smelled like dead monkeys inside my costume. It was bad. Oh, it was bad between the sweat and the food, and it was pretty awful. But I do it all over again 500 times. So it was fun.
Yeah, I'm curious as to how you know what a dead monkey smells like, Robin.
Just a guess. It smelled like the inside of that costume. I'm sure of it.
Our next question is from Russell Coyd, and Russell is actually part of the Ghostbusters of Scotland in Glasgow. So hi, Russell. Russell says, what is the funniest slip up on set that happened? What's a blooper that happened while you were on set for yourselves? Or maybe if something didn't happen to yourself, did you witness a blooper that you could share with the audience?
Yeah, I got one. It didn't happen to me. It happened to Tim when he was in the Nuncio suit, which was a big fat suit, maybe not as big as yours, Billy, but pretty big.
Yes.
He was in the air, and the cable broke, and he fell.
Really?
There were mattresses underneath him. So and of course the costume, saved him as well. He wasn't hurt, but it was like one of the scariest things I've ever seen. I just happened to be there that day. Ah.
Well, mine was not nearly that dangerous. But you remember the first time they lit up Stay Puft, he was missing his tie. Does that count?
Yeah. Wow. Really? Is that in the film?
It's in the film. Yeah. When it's in the shot where you've got the Ghostbusters are standing on the parapet close to the camera, and Stay Puft is coming up behind them, or they're facing Stay Puft. It's when they shoot, and as Stay Puft comes up and over, the bib and no tie. And it was because we were shooting that in the middle of the night, and Joe Viscoso is putting flash bulbs into the bib, and I said, I got to stick this tie on here. He says, well, leave it off until the moment that we go, because I'm afraid I'm going to lean against, mess it up. Well, oops, I didn't put it on, and so it showed up.
Oh, wow.
Fortunately, it's a really complicated shot, which is what Michael Gross, the producer, told me when I admitted to him trepidatiously that the tie was missing. He said, well, fortunately, it's a really complicated shot. There's a lot that's still being added to it, and so probably no one will notice. But if they do, who should we charge the $30,000 shoot to? He said, them.
Well, see, nowadays they would just fix it with CGI, but
right, just scratch it in.
Yeah, I'll have to make
onto the film, just scrape in a tie.
All these things I need to pay attention to for the next time I see the film.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, and that's so funny. You mentioned Joe Viscoso. Joe was best man at my wedding. He was one of
I do know that.
one of my best friends. That man was amazing.
You're lucky to have known him.
Yes,
as am I.
Yeah, anyone who has known him, absolutely. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt our flow here. So, who's got the next blooper or mistake?
I guess I do.
Yes, sir.
Mine was actually not on camera, but it was after we had finished shooting a scene. And then I realized, wait a minute, it's been about 10 minutes and it's awfully dark. And I'm sitting in the Slimer costume on an apple box and thinking, wait a minute, none of the stage lights are on. Now, everybody was very good to take care of me. So about that minute, I hear my friends come running in going, ha, 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 ha. I'm just going, I can't get out of this thing, because you're stuck in you. The head was, had a chin strap, which I couldn't get, so it was funny for them. But you go, hey, am I going to be here another hour, 2 hours? But it was very
Oh, I love it. That's great. Robin, what about you?
This happened not on camera, but like going to and from. I was going from ILM to San Jose every day, working like 14 hours a day and then driving home. That's like an hour and a half away. So I was literally going home, sleeping about 4 hours, driving back, working the full day. And I fell asleep at the wheel going home one night. And I luckily, it was late at night. I went to the shoulder of the road and I didn't hurt myself, and thank goodness nobody else. But I got back to ILM the next morning and I told them, and they were like, look, pack your bags, go home. We're getting you a hotel 5 minutes from here, and you're not driving anymore. We didn't realize. So go home, take care of yourself, and then come back. And that's a good testament to like how they treated me while I was there. So that was like the biggest oops, while I was shooting, probably.
Wow. Oh, and that's so good that they got you your hotel. That's great.
They had no clue. Yeah, they're great.
Drastic happened, Robin. That's you're blessed. You're absolutely blessed. All right, our next question is from Frank McGowan, and originally it was directed to Billy, but you know what? I'm going to actually expand upon it and make it for all of you as a little get to know you all better. Okay, so Frank McGowan wants to know, what genre or kind of books do you all like to read? So Billy, since he originally asked you, we're going to let you start it off, but then the rest of you are going to answer as well.
I like science fiction. I like mysteries. I've been reading a lot of Neil Stevenson. And actually, I read to my girlfriend in the morning and at night, and sometimes when we're driving. And we've been reading a lot of Dick Francis novels. Those are a lot of fun. That kind of stuff. Anybody else?
Yes, Robin.
I'm into psychological thrillers. I'm into true crime. I love Dean Koontz. Dean Koontz is a very vivid writer. I tend to like dream about what I'm reading. It's so vivid and burned into my memory. Yeah, so I would say true crime and psychological thrillers.
Very good. Jim, how about you, sir?
Give me a big, long historical novel, and I'm really happy. But I also like fantasy and science fiction. The Lord of the Rings is probably my favorite book of all time, and right now I'm reading C.S. Lewis's Space Trilogy, which is also just awesome and would make a great movie. I'm kind of surprised they haven't done that yet. But yeah, those kind of things.
And Mark.
Probably my favorite books that I've read in the past would be The Seven Faces of Dr. Lao or The Princess Bride. I love fantasy. But most often you'll find me reading either behind the scenes Hollywood history or how to. I love to learn how to do stuff. So I love pictures and how things go together, and ever since childhood, if I could figure out how something was put together, I'm just mesmerized by that stuff.
That's the stuff that I read. When I was younger, I used to get all those making of books, and I'm actually reading one right now, the Jaws. It's my computer is actually on top of it, holding the computer up to read, but it's one of the thicker, I can't reach it. I will, but anyway, but it's amazing because they have all these behind the scenes photos you've never seen before and stories from other people on set. It's amazing. Absolutely. Love it. Mark and I are on the same page. Okay.
Yeah. Famous Monsters of Filmland.
Yes. Oh, wow. Yes, I love that.
Yeah.
Totally. All right. Our next question is going to be from Keith Armour. And Keith, I'm actually going to add to your question because I had a question I wanted to ask the gang. So Keith's part of the question is, if each of you could pick a different character to be in Ghostbusters, who would you like to be? And then I want to know we're going to keep it classic, of the 4 Ghostbusters, who is your favorite and why? So Keith and I want to know, if you could pick a different character to be in Ghostbusters, who would it be? And who is your favorite Ghostbuster and why? And Robin looks like she has her answer ready to go.
Well, my favorite Ghostbuster isn't technically Louis Tully. I think Rick Moranis is phenomenal and absolutely brilliant. And I gotta tell you, it's a hard question to say, what would I rather? Does it have to be a ghost, another ghost to play, or can it be any character?
Any character in the franchise, who would you want to be?
I mean, of course, Sigourney Weaver, Dana Barrett. I absolutely love that character in all the films she's worked on. So I would have to say Dana.
Okay, perfect. Jim, how about you, sir?
I think my favorite Ghostbuster probably is Harold Ramis, just because he's just adorable, I think. And in terms of another character, I can't remember his name, but in the first movie, William Atherton was the character that he played.
Yeah, Mr. Peck.
Exactly. Yes, him. Yeah. What a jerk. I love playing people like him.
Good answer. I love it. Billy.
Well, favorite Ghostbuster has changed over time. It started as Bill Murray, and then I started understanding Harold better, and just really seeing the nuance there in his performance. And then I met Ernie, and you know what? He's an amazing guy. And in terms of people, he's my favorite. and they're also wonderful.
Right.
I neglected to mention Dan. I didn't want to leave him out there. And what character I would play?
Yeah, another character you would play.
It's funny. I just ran into, is his last name English or Bishop or something? He was the hotel manager who I had no idea it would be so expensive and said he wouldn't pay it.
Yeah.
I just met him a couple of years ago now. We were in a commercial together. It was a Geico commercial with the scientists and a green blob that's getting bigger, just like Geico. And he was the older scientist. And we got to talk a little bit about his experience on set. Just to digress a little, his experience wasn't the best. He was there for one day, and because Dan and Bill kept improvising the lines, he wasn't getting his cues. And since Ivan couldn't yell at them, he yelled at him. Until one of the guys went to Ivan and said, look, it's not his fault. We're not giving him his cue. So take it easy on him. Anyway, okay. I don't know. What? Yeah.
That's awesome. Those are the stories we want to hear. That's great. Thank you. Mark.
Actually, you know what? I decided I'm changing my answer to Yonish. Ghostbusters 2. Peter McNichol, I gotta tell you, that's my new answer. My final answer. He's incredible. And a really nice man on top of it in real life too. But super brilliant. I mean, just so funny. Sorry.
No, his character's great. His character's great. Mark, go ahead, sir.
If I had a chance to be another character in the Ghostbusters franchise, it would be the Scoleri brother that Jim portrayed, because I was going to play that character after I built this puppet prototype. I was slated until they decided that they could do it better with a guy in a suit. So I would love to have played that character. No, you did a great job. I'm glad you did it. And favorite Ghostbuster would have been the Bill Murray character. I love his sense of humor. You got to listen, and there it sneaks right by you. So I love that kind of comedy. So that would be fun.
Well, that's great, guys. Thank you so much for those stories and for answering all these questions. I am sorry to say that we actually have come to the end of our little show today. We've actually gone over by 30 minutes. We were scheduled only for an hour, but we were having so much fun. I was texting in the background with the guys running the show over at the charity. Could we go a little longer? They said, please do. But I do know that we all have things that we need to do in our own lives. So I'm going to let our guests go. Before I let them go, I just need to remind all of our viewers that if you would like to purchase an autograph from any of our guests, they will be available up until Tuesday on the website. And remember, a portion of your proceeds are going to the charity today, Children's Hospices across Scotland. And so that is graciously, all of the guests have agreed to donate a portion of their proceeds to that charity, and they do a lot of great work. So please, guys, do that. If you want to donate on top of your autograph purchase, you can go to www.chas.org.uk, learn more about the charity and make a donation there. And I want you all to join us tomorrow for another edition of this. We're going to have some folks from Disney on, and I'm sure that Capital Sci-Fi Con has other events as well. I would encourage all of you to look at what's happening over the weekend, but specifically for myself and InHouse-CON, I'm going to be hosting the Disney folks tomorrow. So with that, I am going to start our goodbyes with Robin. Your goodbyes, please.
Thanks. Donate everyone to this amazing charity. But it's great to be here. I'm honored to have been part of it. I love you all. Take care. Be safe. And I hope to see you guys at a con soon when it's all safe and I can give hugs again. And just stay safe. Love you all.
Thanks, Robin. Take care now. Jim, how about you, sir?
Children's hospitals across Scotland, please donate. What a good cause. That's wonderful. And by the way, I think this Wallace crest would make a very good Ghostbusters logo. If there's somebody out there who has some artistic skill that I do not, I'll be proud to wear it. Thank you, guys. Love you all.
Jim. Take care. Billy, how about you, sir?
I would like to say thank you so much for inviting us. And I'm proud to be part of the Children's Hospitals Across Scotland charity event. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Billy. Bye-bye. Mark?
Hi, thanks for having us on. I hope that we've been able to help the charity and to raise some funds here. And if you can contribute a little bit more, that would be great. If you can't, buy an autograph, watch Ghostbusters again, and thanks for sharing the mirth and the magic of movie making. Bye-bye.
Bye, Mark. Thank you so much. So, ladies and gentlemen, that brings us to the end of our episode. Again, I'm Derek Mackey with Cool Waters Productions and InHouse-CON. If you'd like to see some of the other events that we host ourselves outside of these ones that we're hosting for the event, you can go to www.inhouse-con.com. And we have some upcoming events that you might have some interest in. Again, please donate to the Children's Hospices Across Scotland. That's chas.org.uk. I want to thank Emma Moore for inviting us to be part of this event today and for running the event in the background on Zoom. And we have 40 seconds of credits, guys. I invite all of you to watch the credits before logging off. So once again, thank you, and I hope to see you all tomorrow. Here come the credits. Have a good day.